everyone. Welcome to our next video in the Practicing Journal Entries series. This is video number 6, and we are going to be dealing with the closing entries now. We're going to have just one quick reminder about the rules for journal entries. And with the closing entries, we're going to see things a little bit reversed of what we would normally expect for regular journal entries, and I'll explain that in just a bit. So the rules, however, are still the same. The debits always come first, and they're always on the left side of the journal entry. The credits always come last in the journal entry, and they're always indented to the right. Now, as before, and we will see this with closing entries, there can be a different quantity of debit versus credit entries, but the total dollar of all debits must equal the total dollars of all credits. And again, we're going to see that quite a bit with the closing entries, where we may have one debit, for example, and several credits, or vice versa, but the dollar amount has to match, and that'll make a little more sense when we see that. And then one more reminder about the normal balance rules. Now, this is extremely important with the closing entries. I mean, it's important for all entries, but what we need to remember is that the normal balance rule basically says that if you want to increase an account, you use its normal balance. The opposite of that normal balance will be used to reduce the account. Now, the reason I say that's so important is that by their nature, with the closing entries, we are reducing really all the revenues, all the expenses, and we'll even see all the dividends. So by their nature, we're reducing them. We're going to be doing things in these journal entries that we normally wouldn't see outside of a closing entry. For example, we seldom would ever reduce an expense account except through the closing entries. Normally we just keep increasing it throughout the period, keeping track of all of our expenses, but with the closing entries we're actually zeroing it out. So the normal balance reminders, the mnemonic devices I like to use, we have DEAD, D-E-A-D, that shows your debit accounts, your accounts with a normal debit balance. Those include the expenses, assets, and dividends. And then the other side, we have the clerk mnemonic, and that shows your credit accounts would be liabilities, revenues, and common stock. So remember, these normal balances are what are used to increase the account, but to decrease the account, use the exact opposite. Now, the closing entries, the whole purpose of these is basically to restart the next period, close one period out, start the next period fresh. Now, the financial statements are going to be prepared at the end of the period after we've done all of our adjusting entries and created an adjusting trial balance. We use those adjusted balance from the adjusted trial balance to actually complete the financial statements, and then we go through the closing process to reset the books for next period. Now, we don't zero out every single account. We don't close every single account. We only close what are known as the temporary accounts. These include revenues, expenses, and your dividends account. They're zeroed out or closed to start the next period. We want to keep a balance only throughout that year, and then we start the year fresh. So in other words, we don't want to know just the revenues for the entire life of the company. We want to know the revenues for this year, for the next year, and then the year after that separately. Now, when we say close these accounts out, we can't just zero them out and be done with it. We have to move the amount somewhere. We're in double entry accounting, so there are always going to be two sides to every entry. The other side of this closing entry is retained earnings. Now, in the end, I'm going to show you two different methods in just the next few slides, but ultimately, the balances of revenues, expenses, and dividends through our closing journal entries, they get moved over to retained earnings. So we'll see how all that's done here. Again, there are two methods for closing entries. They're extremely similar. In fact, there's only one entry that's mainly different. There's an additional entry for one of the methods, and then the difference for the other entries is what you're going to be using instead of retained earnings. So again, that'll make sense in just a bit. The first method closes everything directly out to retained earnings. It closes revenues, expenses, and dividends directly out to retained earnings. Now that works. There's a second method, however, and when you're doing these problems, if you're doing them out of a textbook, you're going to really want to be careful to understand what your textbook asks you. What method do they want you to use? What method does your instructor want you to use? And for that matter, in real life, what method does your company want you to use? The second method first closes revenues and then expenses out to a special account, very, very temporary account known as income summary. And then the income summary account itself is closed out to retained earnings. Now, dividends are still going to be closed directly to retained earnings. The only reason to have this temporary income summary account is to get kind of a check figure to match up against your net income from your income statement. That's the only purpose for it. And, again, is it really all that valuable? Maybe not. You already know what your income is. You already have it on your income statement. So maybe it's not that important. But there are two methods. So when you're doing these problems, be careful to pay attention to what method you're using. Now, when we say closing, when we're closing an account, you have to know what is the current balance of that account. And then to close it, use the opposite of its current balance. Now, normally that would also be the opposite of its normal balance, but there's a potential that maybe that account, by the end of this period, it didn't have a normal balance to begin with. It was on the wrong side. It was on the opposite side, indicating that it's essentially negative. It could happen. It's not very common at all, very, very rare, but just be aware. That's why I'm saying to close an account, use the opposite of its current balance. So, for example, if any account, we don't even need to know what it is, revenue, expense, dividends, if any account currently has a $200 debit balance, then if we want to close it, we have to credit it for $200. That way, we'd have $200 debit, $200 credit. It would be a zero difference, and therefore a zero balance. So that's how we close the account. Now, of course, in this entry, if we're crediting a particular account for $200, we have to be debiting some other account for $200 as well for it to balance out. Now, the first step of closing entries is to review your adjusted trial balance to identify, first of all, what accounts even have a balance, which ones are we going to close. Again, that would be the revenues, expenses, and dividends. And the other thing is identify what side it's on to begin with. So here's an example of an adjusted trial balance for the year. Now, notice we have assets, liabilities, we have some equity accounts, including common stock and retained earnings. Then we have our dividends, revenues, and expenses. The accounts we're going to be dealing with during the closing process, of course, we're going to close our revenues. I said we're going to close all of our expenses, quite a few of them here. We're going to close our dividends. Now, the reason I also have included retained earnings, we're not closing it per se, but we're closing everything out to it. That's the reason I've included that. The other piece I want to pay special attention to is the current balance of retained earnings. This is on the adjusted trial balance, but this is not going to be what shows up on the balance sheet itself. Instead, the balance sheet, which only has assets, liabilities, and equity, it does not have any revenues or expenses. The balance sheet retained earnings is going to be the amount after we're done with those closing entries to begin with. So $18,250 is our starting point. We're going to be adding some more in when we close revenues. We're going to be subtracting some out when we close dividends and expenses. So I want to pay very special attention to that because that's one piece that tends to throw people quite a bit. So let's move forward, and we're going to have to refer back to this. We'll have this in every slide because we need to know what the beginning balance is to close it out. So entry 1. Now, by the way, there's no special order necessarily for these. I could close revenues out first. I could close expenses out first. It's not really a requirement. Most texts and most instructors will say close revenues first, but it's just a formality. It's not an absolute requirement. So close revenues out to retained earnings. Revenues had a credit balance of $793,000, which is where we would expect it. So to close any credit balance account, we have to debit it. So I'm debiting revenues for that same $793,000 from the adjusted trial balance. I'm debiting revenues. The credit to that journal entry under this method 1 is going to be straight to retained earnings. I'm crediting retained earnings for $793,000. That essentially, remember we started with an $18,000 balance. This one entry is already increasing this balance by quite a bit, but we're not done yet. So this is the first closing entry. The second closing entry is to close expenses out to retained earnings. Now notice we have quite a few expenses. They're all on the debit side where we would normally expect them. So to close them, we have to credit them all. All the exact same balances that you see in the adjusted trial balance. Credit all of them, and then we're going to debit retained earnings, and it will be for the sum of all of these credits. Because again, you can have, 8 credits and 1 debit, that's fine, but your dollar amounts have to match out. So we're debiting retained earnings for $729,925, which is obviously going to reduce this a bit. We just added a lot in the last entry. Now we're starting to reduce it a bit, quite a bit. Finally, we will close dividends out to retained earnings. And what we'll do there is dividends, just like expenses, they have a normal debit balance, or I should say they have a debit balance in this case. So we're crediting the dividends, which reduces it down to 0. The debit to this journal entry is going to be a debit to retained earnings for that same $5,000. That also subtracts out of retained earnings, and we're good to go. Now, if we take a look at retained earnings itself, we're going to see that we started with that $18,250 beginning balance. We had $793,000 when we closed the revenues out. We credited retained earnings. We had a debit to retained earnings when we closed out the expenses of $729,925. And we had a debit for $5,000 to retained earnings when we closed out the dividends. When we do all the math there, that brings us to a new balance of $76,325. So it started at $18,250. This $76,325 is what we're actually going to see on the balance sheet. So now I want to make an important point here. What we're going to be seeing during the closing process is the same thing that's happening on your statement of retained earnings, the financial statement. Now, some companies may show this statement of retained earnings separately. Some of them only show it as a component of the larger statement of changes in stockholders' equity. But regardless, we're going to look at just the statement of retained earnings here. So notice that in the statement of retained earnings, we start with the beginning retained earnings balance. We add in net income. We subtract dividends. And we get an ending retained earnings balance. That is the exact same thing that's going on in our closing process. We start with the beginning balance of $18,250. We add revenues, subtract expenses, credit revenues, debit expenses, which ends up adding and subtracting respectively. Now the net of these amounts is $63,075. We debit retained earnings, which reduces it for $5,000. That's just like us subtracting $5,000 in dividends, and we end up with the same ending balance of retained earnings. So, again, the closing process is the way we actually get this into the records, but the statement of retained earnings is how we communicate this to outside users. So they're one and the same. That's an important thing to note. As I said before, the beginning balance from the adjusted trial balance of retained earnings is not what shows up on the balance sheet. Instead, it's the ending balance of retained earnings after our closing entries. And if you go back to financial statements and how they flow, remember the income statement is first, then that moves over to the statement of retained earnings, and the ending balance of retained earnings moves over to the balance sheet. So that's how this is all coming together now. So now let's take a look at method 2. As I said, there are just some very slight differences. We still have the same adjusted trial balance. We're still going to be debiting revenues to close them out. The difference is that now instead of crediting retained earnings, we're going to credit income summary for now. Expenses, we're still crediting all of those expenses, but now we're going to debit income summary instead of retained earnings. So the first two entries, the only difference is instead of retained earnings, we're using income summary. Now we have a completely additional entry for this method 2. This is to close income summary out to retained earnings. So this income summary account only shows up during the closing process and then it's immediately closed. It's very, very temporary. It starts with a zero balance every year before we get to the closing. We're going to be crediting income summary for that revenue closing entry. We're going to debit income summary for that expense closing entry. Now notice there are no dividends here. Dividends do not go to income summary. They're not part of income. The ending balance of this income summary account is $63,075, which if we go back a couple of slides, that was also our net income. That's the entire purpose of this method 2 income summary account, is to give you a check figure to apply against your net income to make sure you've done everything right. Now the third entry, now that we know the balance of income summary, is to close it out. It has a credit balance, so we're going to debit it. Debit income summary for $63,075, credit retained earnings for $63,075, and that's how we end up getting all of those earlier closing entries finally into retained earnings. And then the last entry would just be a simple debit to retained earnings for $5,000, a credit to dividends for $5,000 to close it. So this is the closing entry, the same one that we had last time. The ending balance is going to be the exact same. We started with $18,250. We added $63,075 through a credit. That was our income summary closing entry. We debited, or in this case subtracted, $5,000 out during the dividend closing entry, and we ended up with $76,235 ending balance. So that takes us through all the closing entries. Hopefully that has helped to clarify this process when you're going through these. It's a pretty straightforward process, but you've got to go through it a couple of times to understand it. So we will be continuing on to the next video for more journal entry examples that are going to become progressively more complex as we get into some of the additional topics. But again, it's all about practice. If you practice these journal entries enough, they're going to become second nature eventually. So thank you for your time in this video, and I will talk to you in our next video. Have a good one.